Okay, let me just resume. I had a brain fart here. I thought I was making a mistake, and I realized I was doing it right. So the thing here is I remember the distance formula. It's x1 minus x2 quantity squared plus y2 minus y1 quantity squared, well, under the square root. So this was we were doing it right the first time. We have negative 3 minus 1 squared plus 2 minus 4 squared, right? So that, as we said before, that turns out to be the square root of 20. So the radius is the square root of 20 divided by 2. You could simplify this if you wanted to. This is going to be square root of 4 times 5 over 2, which is the square root of 4, that's 2, square root of 5 over 2. So this will be the square root of 5. So that's the radius. And then the center is going to be the midpoint between these 2 points. So we'll have so for this in this case we use our midpoint formula, and we take the average of the x coordinates. It's 1 plus negative 3 over 2, and then 4 plus 2 over 2. So this will be negative 2 over 2, that's negative 1, and this is 6 over 2, that's 3. So that's our center. Okay, this is going to be our H and K. This will be our R. So the equation should be x plus 1 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals r squared, which is going to be 5. Okay. And again, we can plug either in these points in here, and it works out. So, sorry for the confusion. That's what it works. Okay, then the last type of example requires us to review completing the square, and which maybe some of you have seen before. And what this boils down to is whenever we have x squared plus some constant times x, we can always add and subtract a constant, so that we have we can write this as something x plus something squared minus something squared. Okay, and that helps us to solve a lot of equations, and quadratic equations, which we'll be talking about later. And the reason why we want to do this is because we want, we define an equation of a circle to be in standard form. It's going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals something. And a lot of times we won't see that immediately. Like in this last example, we have x squared plus y squared minus 2x minus 4y. Well, these two terms are just sort of sitting out there. How can we want to have x minus something squared plus y minus something squared equals a constant. So how do we do that? Well, we do this by completing the square. And as an example, like if we wanted to say x squared minus 5, anytime we have x squared plus something times x, or y squared plus something times y, we can transform it this way. To complete the square, we take the coefficient of the x term and divide by 2 and square it, and whatever that number is, we add and subtract that. So you're not changing the value of this. But then these first 3 terms here, we can factor that as x plus b over 2 quantity squared. And you can if you multiply this out, you'll see that you get this. Okay. So the advantage of this is now you have x plus something squared, or in some cases it'll be y plus something squared. Okay. So for example, x squared minus 5x, in this case b is negative 5. Negative 5 halves, we can square that and then subtract that. If we square negative 5 over 2, we get 25 fourths. So basically what we're doing is we're taking x squared minus 5x, and we're adding and subtracting 25 fourths. Okay, and then these first three terms become x minus 5 halves squared. Okay. So how would we do that in this circle? And with the equation of this circle, if this is a circle, we're going to find, we're not sure. But we can group the x terms together, leave a space, and then the y terms together, leave a space. And I'll put this negative 4 on the other side, so I'll add 4 to both sides, like that. And then what we do is we complete the square of both sides. Okay, or rather complete the square for the x and complete the square for the y. In this first case, we see b is negative 2. In this next case, we see that b is negative 4. So if we take b, if b is equal to negative 2, then b over 2 is going to be negative 1, and we can square that, and we get 1. So we're going to add 1 here and subtract 1. And then over here, b is negative 4. b over 2 would be negative 4 halves, which is negative 2. And then b over 2 squared would be 4. So we'll add 4 and subtract 4. Okay. And then these terms then become x minus 1 squared. These terms become y minus 2 squared. Okay. And now we can see what we have. We have x minus something squared plus y minus something squared plus some constants. We can add 1 to both sides. We can add 4 to both sides. And so we get x minus 1 squared plus y minus 2 squared equals 4 plus 4 plus 1. That's 9. So you can see that our h is going to be 1, our k is 2, and our r is 3. Because 9, square root of 9 is 3. So our center is 1, 2, and our radius is equal to 3. Okay. We won't be doing a whole lot of completing a square in this class, but it's something that you definitely should be aware of. You can see, because sometimes it won't be completely obvious that an equation like this will be in fact an equation of a circle. And in some class, and if you've had other classes you've heard about, sometimes you'll get a similar equation, but it'll turn out to be the equation of an ellipse or something else. So you should be a little familiar with completing a square, and we can get some practice. There will be a couple of problems in the homework where you have to do this. So that's how you complete the square.